Welcome back, guys, to CryptosRUs. I am George. Round two. Round two, I had some technical difficulties. Hopefully this one goes smoothly. I was away for the weekend, so I know you guys missed me, and there was a lot of excitement. Good excitement and bad excitement. So I'm here to talk about what has happened, what's going on with Bitcoin and altcoins, and this massive event that not a whole lot of people is paying attention to. This is huge. Huge, and I believe the biggest Bitcoin pump could be coming right after this massive event, and it's coming very, very, very soon. All right, so thanks for tuning in, guys. As always, make sure you smash up the like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and hit that notification bell and follow me on Twitter and Facebook so you don't miss out on any of my live streams. And I do plan on having one tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And I can see the people that's in the chat already. Very rowdy crowd tonight, having a whole lot of drinks like me, and I'm getting my buzz on with Miller Lite. And depending on how much I stream, maybe I move to a Heineken. So that's what I'm drinking tonight. Not whiskey for me. All right, so let's get started. Let's talk about what has happened with Bitcoin and crypto and everything else. So right now, Bitcoin is at around $33,000, a little bit lower than $33,000. And, you know, this weekend, we had some excitement, right? It went a little bit lower. And, you know, people were freaking out. Everyone is freaking out these days. I'm hearing from so many people, you know, that are freaking out and coming out with all these theories about how Bitcoin is done. And it's going to go to basically to zero. Okay, there's so many people now that's coming out that's saying, look at, I told you so, and this and this and this, and look at this and look at this pattern and look at this, how it's so similar to 2018, and every single person is coming out and saying so. You know what? The people that are screaming the loudest are the ones that have been sitting on the sidelines, that have missed out on an entire run. And they've been doing so. They've been saying the same things over and over and over, right? Hoping that somehow they have influence to drop Bitcoin to a point where they can get in. But you know what? It's too late for that. That's not going to happen, right? But I just see it all the time. And more so this weekend than any other weekend. And that's because Bitcoin is a little bit lower than, you know, its previous highs, right? At $42,000. But, you know, I still find it funny that people are still worrying over, you know, a few $100-point drop here and there when it's above $30,000. Okay, we're not down to $10,000. We're not down to $3,000. If we were at $3,000, I would say the story is different. Okay, the narrative have changed, and you know what? Even though the narrative changed, I would still say the same thing. You buy cheap Bitcoin and you hold it for life-changing wealth. So the message would still be the same. It's just the narrative maybe changed a little bit, but it's still the same thing. Right now, what's going on is it seems like Bitcoin has found a foothold between 35,000 and 30,000. A little bit lower than a foothold between 40,000 and 35,000. But you know what? That's okay. We know Bitcoin needs to take a breather sometimes, right? And this is what it's doing right now. It's taking a breather. And you know what? If it hovers here, that's fine. We know that once it's done here, just like this, there's been many periods where Bitcoin seems to go up and down, and when it's ready, it'll move up, right? What I like to see next is, and I don't think we're too far off from there, I like to see Bitcoin go above 34.5 and hold, all right? So me personally, that's what I'm looking at right now, right? So once it breaks above 34.5, we know that has been a pretty good support, and Bitcoin has held there for many times before it broke through recently. But what I'm looking for is once Bitcoin breaks above and utilize that as a support again, right, then I think it's ready. Then I think Bitcoin will be hovering between 35 and 40, and then it's going to be ready for the next leg up, something like this, tremendously from 40,000, and it could be towards $48,000 or $50,000. That could be the next point, right? So that's what I'm looking for, but still, you know what, there's just so many people that's trying to scare you right now, right? And that's what you don't want to fall for. I mean, it just seems silly to me, right? And you have like the Motley Fool, I just picked up on this, that are writing articles like this, the 3 worst ways to invest in Bitcoin, And, you know, the Motley Fool, I feel like they're threatened because they've been posting a lot of commercials on YouTube, you know, like the ads, talking about how, you know, they've been famous for pointing out like Amazon or Google very early on, right? And that's their like claim to fame. But recently they have done nothing. And you know what? The Bitcoin is one that they have never talked about. And now they feel threatened. So now they have to come up with FUD articles to make you not invest in Bitcoin, because Bitcoin will outperform anything that they can recommend at this point, right? So I'll go over what they're talking about. But, you know, you got a lot of articles, a lot of people that's like this because they simply didn't get in. They didn't catch the train. And they feel like it's too late. But here's the thing. Here's the irony of it all. They didn't. All these fudders, they could simply hop on the train right now and still take a ride to the moon for absolutely free if they could just hop onto the train, right? And they're refusing to do so because they're stubborn or ignorant or naive or a little bit of everything. But if they jump on even right now at $33,000, you know, $33,000 and $1 million plus, there's still a long way to go, right? So you could still ride that train to the moon if you wanted to, if you just simply, you know, come over to the lighter side, not the dark side, right? You know, then all will be well. All will be well. But anyways, all right. So, you know, I just want to get that off my chest. So many people starting to turn all, you know, all bearish and stuff. Just ignore all that, right? You don't want to give your Bitcoin away. But anyways, let me talk about the main thing I want to talk about, which is this huge event that's coming. Right? And I think a lot of people are ignoring this. I know some of you guys heard of it before, but I think you guys are downplaying or underestimating, I should say, that's the best way to put it, about this event. Okay, so first I'm going to show you guys this very short video. I think this video came out right after my stream on Friday, right? So I'm going to talk about this, 10-minute, thank you. I'm going to get to altcoins a little bit. So I'm going to talk about this big event. Michael Saylor, of course, he's like, you know, the OG now for Bitcoiners, right? Talks he talks a good game. Let's just put it that way. He talks a good game. He mentioned something in here that leads to this event that I'm going to talk about. So let me get this ready. Let me put on my headset here. All right, I'm going to turn this on again. Hopefully there's no echo. All right, let's do this.
Curious what you think, not only about the pretty dramatic pullback we've seen in the price of Bitcoin since that peak earlier this month, but also what you think about continuing.
Oh, real quick, and I mentioned this already on Friday, right? Michael Saylor is a holder now, not a trader, a holder. Very different in terms of his philosophy now versus before, right? And just take a look at the headline right now. MicroStrategy buys approximately 314 Bitcoins for $10 million. So what he's doing is dollar cost averaging and buying, you know, when there's good opportunities that's coming in, right? Obviously, his dollar cost average is actually low. And by buying this 10 million, actually raised it up. That's usually what you don't want to do, but it doesn't matter because he knows Bitcoin's going to go much higher. So when there are buying opportunities, he's going to take advantage. I mean, he already owns like $2 billion of the Bitcoins, right? But even that is not enough for Michael Saylor, so he needs to buy more. But I just wanted to talk about that real quick.
Add to your pile why doing so right now made sense.
Well, you know, it's not volatile to an investor with a 1 to 4 year time frame because it's boringly spectacular for the past decade. It's up 200% or more, pretty much on average every year for 10 years running. It's volatile for traders, but traders like volatility. So they're getting the volatility they like. It's attracting a lot of capital in the asset class. I think it's having a stellar year, and 2021 is going to be really good for Bitcoin.
Michael, it's Guy. Thanks for being here. You know, typically I would say you have to be a rocket scientist from MIT to understand this, but you happen to be exactly that. So I'm going to ask you this question. You're basically, first of all, I admire your temerity. I admire your passion about this. I truly do. And obviously it's reflected in your stock price. But how do the employees of the company feel about this? Because this is a huge bet in a lot of ways on the future of your company.
Well, you know, when Google and Facebook and Amazon and Apple came out and they launched their digital networks, and when the internet came along and it was a new digital network for information, people weren't quite sure if they should embrace them. But I think 30 years later, companies that know how to use the internet and know how to work with Apple and Google and Facebook and social networks are the leading edge companies, and they're winning. Our employees are pretty delighted that we're pioneers in commercializing and integrating with this digital monetary network, because this is going to be the future.
And so I'm not going to ask you to play, stock market as we typically do, but what's the best case scenario for the price of Bitcoin? Like, what are you looking for? What are you planning? Because I would imagine at some point this has to come up on the earnings call, which I believe is within a week or so from now.
Well, look, I mean, Bitcoin's a digital monetary network, and the asset itself is the technically superior asset. It's the ideal institutional safe haven asset. So what's the future? The future is to flip gold. It's going to replace gold. And then after it replaces gold, it's going to become the monetary index that replaces stock indexes like the S&P 500, the Dow, the bond indexes, and the like, because people that want to store their money, they want a safe haven store of value over the next 10 to 30 years, are going to be attracted to a digital asset that has no inflation in it.
Yeah, and I think you yourself in the past have basically said that your P&L is a software company, your balance sheet is invested in Bitcoin, though. That being said, the stock is moving. Whichever way Bitcoin goes on a daily basis, the stock is moving right along with it. It's almost become a stock market proxy for crypto. How do you feel about that?
Well, corporations everywhere in the world that are cash rich, they're looking at...
By the way, I just want to say that this next point, is my main point, right? But he clearly just dodges her question. It has nothing to do with her question.
Their cash, and they're saying cash is a liability. They have to find an asset that's going to appreciate faster than the rate of monetary expansion. So I think what you're going to see this year is corporations are going to embrace Bitcoin either on their balance sheet, like we have, because it converts a liability into an asset, or they're going to do what Square and PayPal and Grayscale have done, and they're going to build Bitcoin into their products and services, because you're talking about them all the time. Their stocks are going up. Grayscale's from $2 billion to $20 billion in assets under management in 12 months. There's a reason why they have differentiated their products and their services with a big tech monetary network that's exploding at 200% a year. I think it's going to continue for the decade. And, everybody with cash has that opportunity. So I think our employees are delighted, our shareholders are delighted, and I think you're going to see an avalanche of new companies do the same thing, either on their balance sheet or on their P&L.
So that leads me to this big event, which he mentioned, is this Bitcoin for corporations. And I mean, I think this may be the event of the year, if not the decade, because this event could be the event that introduces basically all the corporations out there that's been craving or wanting to learn more about Bitcoin, was afraid to, right? Afraid of the steps it would take, the legality of it, the press, all this stuff, right? And there's probably hundreds of corporations out there, including some of the biggest ones out there, including maybe even Tesla and Elon. And I believe they're all going to gather and have the biggest brainstorming of all time and just really learn from what Michael Saylor did and MicroStrategy, right? But also future things that they can do, right? Not only to buy Bitcoin as a reserve currency, but how to integrate Bitcoin into their business, right? Just like how Square and PayPal and Grayscale did it, right? But there's other ways that they could do so that we haven't even talked about or even heard of yet. So I think this is going to be the biggest event for Bitcoin for this year, for sure. With the exception of maybe like Tesla declares to go buy Bitcoin or Apple declares to go buy Bitcoin. But outside of those kind of events, which I think is going to happen anyways, but I think this is going to be a monumental shift in terms of how corporations think about their reserves, let's just say USD, and think about Bitcoin. I think this is huge, and I don't think people are paying enough attention to this. And this event is coming in the very, very near future. So we're not talking about an event that's going to come in like June or September or December of 2021. No, it's coming February 3rd, which is only 2 weeks away. 2 weeks away, and MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor has both been promoting this event for a long time. But you could just take a look. What's the agenda, right, for this event? Macro strategy, overall review of Bitcoin as a treasury reserve, and then corporate strategy, then financial considerations, legal considerations, accounting considerations. I mean, basically, Michael Saylor is sharing his playbook, exactly what he's been working on for months, and who knows how many hours, how much dollars he has spent. He's giving this away for free. For free, right? Well, if you minus, I don't even know if you have to pay to go into this event. Maybe you have to pay a little bit, but whatever. Or maybe you don't. I don't know. But, basically, whatever amount of time he spent, right? And he's giving it all. So this is going to be massive. I absolutely think this is going to be massive. I think after this event, like he always says, avalanche, we're going to see an avalanche of companies come in and declare that they are buying Bitcoin with their cash reserves. I have no doubt we're going to hear a lot more. Honestly, MicroStrategy, if you think about it, I mean, Bitcoiners talk about MicroStrategy as if they were big as Apple or Microsoft. No, they're very tiny. They're worth about $3 billion market cap. Yes, billion, but still, $3 billion is nothing compared to, say, 2-point-something trillion of Apple and $2 trillion for Microsoft, and even pretty, 800 billion for Tesla, right? So they're still very tiny, but this could really broaden, the education and just, shorten the learning curve for so many other corporations that could be so much bigger than MicroStrategy. So they could just go all in and say, you know what, 1 billion, 5 billion, $10 billion into Bitcoin. I think it's going to be massive. Now, besides just MicroStrategy, take a look at some of the other players that's making a presentation. Some of the biggest exchanges out there, right? That's no surprise. But also, take a look at this panel. Binance, Coinbase makes perfect sense, right? Gemini makes perfect sense. Grayscale, Kraken, NYDY, Paxos make perfect sense. But also, Fidelity is in here. They are definitely a huge player, right? Fidelity Investments, they're into Bitcoin mining. They buy a whole lot of mining stock also, but they also do custody service. So if one day you are a Bitcoin millionaire or multimillionaire or even a Bitcoin billionaire and you want to safeguard your crypto because you're afraid of holding $1 billion on your ledger, then you could go to Fidelity and trust them with your Bitcoin because they have insurance and all the safeguards and all that stuff, right? I think Fidelity is also huge. So Fidelity is definitely not hiding anymore, right? For many years, they kind of stay low key. Now they're coming forefront. They're saying, hey, we're all about crypto, so I think that's also pretty massive. So I think this is the biggest event out there. And I don't know how many people have paid attention to this, but I think a Bitcoin pump, a huge pump, I think it's coming anyways, but this will definitely accelerate it. And I think Michael also knows this too, right? So I don't want to say that Michael's doing it for the benefit of humanity. Of course, he's going to benefit from this too, right? He has over $2 billion worth of Bitcoin, so any kind of price pump he causes, right, will also definitely enrich himself too. So it's self-serving. Let's not forget that. So there is that, but still, overall, it's going to be self-serving for the whole Bitcoin community. So it's going to be very, very, very positive. So this is the big event I want to talk about. Also, something else I found, MicroStrategy raised that debt of theirs before, not too long ago to buy $650 million worth of Bitcoin. Guess who invested? Bill Miller and his son. So this just came out recently. So people were wondering why it went up. Originally the debt was supposed to be $550 million and went up to $650 million. That's because, Michael's like, there's like so much demand. It got pushed up, right? And it sold out right away. Right now, why? Because you got some of the biggest players from Wall Street, like Bill Miller, investing in that debt. And why are they investing in that debt? Because they're investing in MicroStrategy and they're investing in Bitcoin. That's how they're doing it, right? They're not investing it because they love MicroStrategy, because they're a business intelligence play. No, they're investing because MicroStrategy is basically one big, gigantic Bitcoin play at this point. So I found that to be kind of interesting, right? So what else is there besides this huge event? Fidelity. I just got done talking about Fidelity, how they're not staying in the shadows anymore. Guess what? They're also hosting the Bitcoin white paper. Just last Friday, right? I covered about all this FUD, about Craig Wright now trying to sue everyone, saying that he's Satoshi and trying to get everyone to remove the Bitcoin white paper. Well, guess what? MicroStrategy is listing it on their website. Fidelity is listing on their website. I like to see Craig Wright, his broke ass, try to sue Fidelity and even MicroStrategy, because they will run him all the way to the ditch, right? They will take everything away from them, from Craig Wright, if he dares to try to sue these guys. These guys have infinite amount of money and lawyers. I like to see Craig Wright do that. Craig Wright has no choice but to try to sue the Bitcoin devs or Bitcoin.org, these nonprofit places that really can't afford a lawyer. But I like to see him sue some of these big multi-billion-dollar companies and see what the end result is. Craig Wright already lost in court. He can't prove that he's Satoshi, so I don't know what the end game is. I guess he's just trying to stay relevant, but it's really sad at this point. But again, Fidelity, they're not hiding anymore. The fact that they're putting this on their website, that's a pretty big thing, a pretty big deal. All right, what else is there? I found this to be funny because a lot of people have been talking about Powerball and Mega Millions. Mega Millions went up above $1 billion. Powerball was close, $700 something million. Even Jim Cramer says, you know what? The winner of Powerball should just put 5% of that into Bitcoin. So Jim Cramer has been becoming more and more bullish on Bitcoin. He himself said he picked some up, although he didn't really give any good reasons why, but he did, right? And now he's advising others to put, especially mega millionaires or Powerball, whatever, however you define it, super rich millionaires from lottery, to put some of it in Bitcoin. So kind of interesting. All right. So I talked about this article early on, the Motley Fool, right? Basically, their winning streak have really died down, and now they're just flooding Bitcoin because they're afraid all their clients will just turn to Bitcoin instead of paying them for their recommendations. So what is the three worst ways to invest in Bitcoin? Number one is to invest in Riot Blockchain, which is a mining company, which, by the way, has gone up 1,000% in 2020. So they're saying, no, you don't want to invest in them because if Bitcoin goes down, they're going to go down because they're a Bitcoin mining company. Well, duh, right? But what if Bitcoin goes to the moon? Guess what happens to Riot Blockchain? They go to the moon with Bitcoin, right? So their only thing is you don't want to invest in Riot Blockchain because they're a Bitcoin miner. Okay, that's not a good reason. What about Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, who now has over $20 billion worth of Bitcoin in their Bitcoin Trust, right? Don't invest in Bitcoin Trust because Bitcoin Trust is made up of Bitcoin. Well, no shit. Okay, sorry, I don't mean to swear, but I mean this kind of reasoning doesn't make any sense. Of course, you have a Bitcoin Trust that's made of Bitcoin, so of course they will be correlated with Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes to the moon, so will they, right? And of course, number three, okay, why not just say Bitcoin? So one of the worst ways to invest in Bitcoin is just to buy Bitcoin. So obviously, this writer is someone that has not gone on the Bitcoin train, has lost out on possibly multi-million dollars because maybe he has heard of Bitcoin since its inception, since in 2009, right? So he probably missed out on the whole thing. And now he's trying to FUD because he doesn't want anyone else to get richer, right? Because most Bitcoiners probably richer than this guy already, and he hates to see himself get poorer and poorer while everyone else gets richer due to Bitcoin. So now he's resorting to FUD articles like this, Sean Williams. And it's just really sad. It's really sad to see. Like I said at the beginning, he could simply hop on the Bitcoin train right now and still get a free ride to the moon if he chooses to do so. But no, he's writing FUD articles like this and trying to bring everyone else down when he could be doing the reverse. You know, bring everyone else up, get more people educated on ways to invest in Bitcoin, right? And I think that would be a much better angle, but no. But no. All right. So that's about Bitcoin. Let's talk about altcoins, right? Altcoins have been exploding recently over the weekend. Bitcoin dominance actually went down 62.2% because of it. That's a huge drop from Friday, which was around 64%. 2-point drop. That is huge. And the market cap is closing in on $1 trillion again, despite the fact that Bitcoin is below $33,000. And you can see DeFi is exploding, over 26 billion locked in, right? And headlines like this: Ethereum is now at an all-time high. And same thing, Chainlink is at an all-time high. And not only them, right? You have Aave and Uniswap, especially Uniswap, that has been exploding like crazy, right? And a lot of altcoins are going up, right? So here's my thing. And this is why I said like a month ago, right? Altcoins will have periods of time where they go up and they do better than Bitcoin, which is why I said, you know, if you want to diversify, you want to expand beyond Bitcoin, it's fine. Go ahead and do so. I still think a good recommendation is like 75-25, right? But I know a lot more people is going really heavy into altcoins now because they believe it's altcoin season. Here's the thing though, okay? I'm going to play devil's advocate on that because I know a lot of people are like, all right, I'm just going to go all in on altcoins now because it's moving so much faster than Bitcoin. It's altcoin season. Here's the thing. I'm going to play a devil's advocate. Right now, if you're an altcoiner, you're a non-Bitcoiner, right? You don't want to wish that to happen. If you're wishing that Bitcoin will basically stall out and or goes down while you think Ethereum and Polkadot and Cardano, everything else will go to the moon, right? You're wishing that to happen. You better take that wish back, because if that truly happens, that is very, very, very bad. You don't want Bitcoin to stall out at this point, right? Just case in point, look at what happened in 2017 when Bitcoin topped out, right? And then it came down from its 19.8. Altcoins exploded. Guess what the next step was after that? The huge crash down. So we definitely don't want that to happen. We don't want Bitcoin to stall out, because that would mean the 42,000 is the end of its run, and now all the money is flowing to altcoins. And guess what's happened after that? A bottom is coming, right? We definitely don't want that. So what we want right now is an equal balance. We have Bitcoin that's going up, and we know, I think at least a lot of us do, or I know I do, and I think this, that Bitcoin's going to go much higher, right? But there will be periods of time where it stalls out. And if it stalls out, that's good, because then a lot of people start buying altcoins. Traders, whales, whatever, whoever, they're going to start buying altcoins and cause them to go up. And so there will be periods where altcoins do much better than Bitcoin, right? And that's good, because if you're holding on, right, it'll carry your portfolio. It'll make you gain on Bitcoin, so your overall BTC value actually goes up. That is great. That is great. But I am warning you guys, you don't want to go too heavy. You don't want to just all of a sudden say go from 75% Bitcoin to 75% altcoins, because usually when Bitcoin stalls for a little bit and altcoins do come up in a big way, the next step is Bitcoin then goes up, and it goes up in a big way, right? So we have seen that time and time and time again in 2020 and also in 2021. So don't be like flipping all the way around, right? And if people that are like non-Bitcoiners, because I know some people are only in altcoins, and if they're wishing that Bitcoin stalls out or just doesn't go up anymore, you should ask them to take that wish back, because we don't want Bitcoin to stall out, because if it does, that would be very, very bad for the entire crypto community. So I just want to clarify that, because I'm hearing a lot more people talk about, yeah, you know what, I'm just going to go all in on Polkadot or all in on Uniswap because it's going to make me millions and millions of dollars, which it can. But let's not forget, Bitcoin is still the name of the game. It's still the biggest crypto out there. And if it really stalls out, you know what, all this momentum from the altcoins can't really carry much farther. So, but with that said, yeah, there's a lot of altcoins that have done really, really, really well over this past weekend. So these are some of the ones I've talked about. Like I've created videos, and a lot of people didn't watch them, but just not too long ago, I think just last week, I created a video about the top altcoins that I like. And that video actually didn't do very well because I think most people following me are just buying Bitcoin. But I talked about the top altcoins, the ones I've been talking about for a long time. And guess what? Those are the ones that gain the most. I kid you not. Go back and watch this video. And where is it? When did I make that video? Best altcoins. So 6 days ago, less than 7 days ago, and you can see the views was actually lower than all my other videos. But if you look at that one, right, everything I've said in there still stays true because nothing changed within a week. But the ones that I talked about are the ones that went up the most. So, for example, Ethereum. Ethereum is just doing really well right now, right? A lot of enthusiasm over Ethereum 2.0, and Grayscale clients also love Ethereum, so they're doing very well. Polkadot also has been literally on fire, right? And I've said, don't always count on number 2 being better than the number 1. And when I said that, I referenced Kusama and Polkadot, right? Polkadot has outperformed Kusama by hundreds of percent, right? Polkadot is simply on fire. Cardano is also on fire. Not as much as the others, but they're doing still relatively well, right? Chainlink, another one I mentioned, that is doing very, very well, right? But also these DeFi coins have done really well. I said the two DeFi coins that I like, and I don't like a lot of DeFi at all, but the two I've always mentioned is Uniswap and Aave, and both of them have paid out handsomely over this last week, up nearly 50%, both of them. And the reason why I like it is simple. You go with basically the biggest players in what they do, right? So if you go to DeFi Pulse, you look at Aave for lending, they're nearly number 1, right? But the reason why I consider number 1 is because the way they do lending is different than the way Maker does lending. So I like Aave a lot better, right? And I recommended them years ago as ETHLend, but they kind of transitioned themselves. But if you happen to find some ETHLend tokens, right? Yeah, you'll find yourself thousands of percent richer if you still have some. And same thing with Uniswap. They're the biggest DEX out there, right? So it just makes sense. You have two of the leaders of kind of what they do, and they're excelling at what they do. So you go see people put more money into them, right? So that's the reason why they went up, and they went up big time, right? Some of the other ones I mentioned, like VeChain, hasn't done bad. VeChain has done pretty well, 15% in a week. Keep in mind, all this greens that you see is very impressive because of the fact that they are in green when Bitcoin is actually in red for the week. That's what makes that even more impressive, right? So they are definitely gaining on BTC. So that's why they are very impressive. But I don't think these are the ones that I like. They have a lot of promise. There's a lot of loyal fans, a lot of investors, and they're basically the best at what they do, right? So I think they're going to be around for a long time. And I don't remember if I covered any other projects in that video, but I think I did. I think I had about like 7 or 8 of them. I talked about Engine too, right? Which Engine has been pumped up to the moon recently, also 70%. Yes, I did talk about Engine. I talked about also my newest pick, Voyager, because I did discover them not too long ago, right? For this week, not so good. But when I did cover them, they were like 70-something cents. So overall, they're still doing very good. And a lot of people have been telling me about how they love the app, right? And the app is actually very good. So they're also very good. But overall, I think some of these projects are the ones that I've been talking about for years. And they are where they are because they are good. They are actually promising, and they actually have good things. So Theta is another one. I do like Theta a lot, but this week they haven't moved, but that's okay. That's because if you look at the previous weeks, they've been pumping up to the moon too. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the altcoins. I mean, I don't think there's any surprises. I think the real surprise is that they've been doing very well right now, despite the fact that Bitcoin has not, which is a surprise to me, and which is why BTC dominance have gone down. But that's okay, right? But like I said, don't get too greedy. Don't be one of those guys that say, okay, death to Bitcoin because altcoins are here to stay and they go pump to the moon. That's not gonna happen without Bitcoin. So let's all be one big happy family and wish everything goes up. Let's do it that way. All right, guys. I'll turn to you guys for some Q&A. A lot of people are making fun of ETH for some reason. Yeah, ETH, the gas price on ETH is so high because quite simply it's due to DeFi, right? We know Ethereum can't scale right now. They're trying to, but they're not going to get done until 2022. So we have to wait a full year, maybe even more than a full year before we get true Ethereum 2.0 out. They're going to get sharding, and then they're going to migrate the two chains, and then they're going to be one big happy family, right? But they are still considered number one. They have the largest development base. Grayscale, they have an Ethereum trust that's doing very well too. So until one of these guys really threaten them, you know what? They're going to be the big dog in terms of network protocols, right? But they can't sit still because someone like Polkadot, is 1/10 their size, but Polkadot has been going up really, really, really fast. And same thing, which Cardano, which a lot of people still love, right? So these two guys, founded by ex-co-founders of Ethereum, they're not sitting still. So Vitalik and team, they got to keep moving forward because they do have that dominant position right now. But you know what? Things could change very, very fast in the next year or two, right? So right now, I guess the main thing is don't count Ethereum out yet because, you know what? All DeFi projects are on Ethereum. Fundraising with ICOs, the ones that still does that, or IEOs, they're still on Ethereum, right? So, and the development base, the development tools and stuff is still enormous. So they're definitely not out of the game yet. But they can't sit on their hands for too long because these other guys, they're not waiting. Is there a BTC to real estate bridge? There was, but they're all scams, so I never liked them. Don't buy tokenized like pieces of real estate because that's just idiotic. So there's been projects that have tried to do that before. Don't do that. Don't do that. If you're going to get in real estate, own it outright. Don't try to buy like a tokenized fractional portion of a real estate. Just don't do it. Got a good amount of people in here. So smash up the likes. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. I can tell a lot of people missed me over the weekend, right? A lot of excitement, not so good excitement, some good excitement. Right now, what I'm looking for Bitcoin is to break above 34.5, right? That is the support level I like to see Bitcoin at. And we're not there yet, but hopefully this coming week, we will see Bitcoin be pushed up above 34.5. I think holding between 40 and 35,000 would be a great stepping stone, right? But this weekend and a few days ago, the Bitcoin bears, the whales, utilizing FUD kind of scared some people, right? Which is why you're hearing a lot more FUD about Bitcoin recently because this drop, right, actually worked. It caused a lot of people to doubt, right? But don't fall for that. Bitcoin is still doing fine, right? So we just have to wait to get above 34.5, and then I think once there, right, then we go bounce like this for a little bit until Bitcoin's ready to shoot up and go higher. 10-minute crypto, thank you for that. And I think I answered your previous super chat, which you asked about Ethereum, right? So hopefully that answered it, but appreciate it. Jeff, I literally just got done talking about Ethereum like 2 seconds ago. Just rewind like 5 minutes. No, it's not. No, it's not. Don't kid yourself. It's not gonna be passing BTC. Can I talk about Litecoin? Just like the example I made about, don't think number 2 is better than number 1 with the case of 10-minute crypto. Thank you. Glad I'm helping. Just like in that case, don't count on Litecoin being number 2 to Bitcoin being a better buy. Because it's not. It's never outperformed Bitcoin. I don't know why anyone would think it will ever outperform Bitcoin. There's 4 times the supply. So if nothing else, just look at that. Litecoin is a store of value. So it will be a digital silver to Bitcoin's digital gold, right? But just look at silver to gold. Will silver ever catch up to gold? No. And there's a big price difference. And if you just chart Litecoin, just go back 3 months, 6 months, a year, 5 years. Litecoin has never outperformed Bitcoin. So I don't know why you would really want to hold large amounts of Litecoin. You just rather hold Bitcoin. Just because Bitcoin's at 33,000 and Litecoin's at $150, there's no reason why Litecoin will actually surpass Bitcoin in performance over long haul. There's just no reason. There's 4 times the amount of supply. Just think about that, right? So Litecoin can outperform Bitcoin in the short term. And I even made a video talking about that. How newcomers, retail people coming into the space, they may buy Litecoin just because of that reason, because it seems like it's a cheaper buy, right? And that could happen on shorter periods. Maybe it'll happen for months, 6 months, or maybe even a year. But if you go out further and further and further, you'll realize that it never will outperform Bitcoin. So that's my thoughts. And all this hype about Mimblewimble, don't that's nonsense. Mimblewimble, if ever implemented, which I don't think it will, but if it ever implements, it would actually destroy Litecoin's value. And the reason being because all exchanges are delisting privacy coins. So once Litecoin actually gets privacy features, they will start being delisted, and it would actually hurt them. So you should pray that Litecoin never gets Mimblewimble implemented, because if it does, it's going to hurt them. Does Aave have legs? Yes, they do. But what I don't like is whenever Aave and Uniswap pumps up this much, the next step is they usually come down. Because usually this kind of movement is not natural. And I've seen it time and time and time again. This time a little bit longer than usual. But Uniswap and Aave, they usually get pumped up to the moon and then they come down in a big way. So overall, I think they do have legs. They will stay. They will go higher, right? But I think this is a little bit too fast. But overall, they are still 2 of the altcoins I like to hold on to. Tony, you're going to have to wait. I'm going to produce a video about the graph for Patreon members. So make sure you tune in for that. But so far, it looks pretty impressive. GRT and Link, they do complement each other, but they serve very different purposes. So I think that's the confusion. But they do look like they're a promising project. And they do have something that's a little bit different. But yeah, I'm looking at my full thoughts later on. I was, Sean Walker says, I was a victim of unauthorized port of my phone number. They stole my number to gain access to any account linked to my phone. Hopefully, you didn't use, you didn't use your phone number as 2FA, because I had that happen to me before. So hopefully you have, you're using Google Authenticator or Authy. Calcifer, I think that's how you say your name. What do you think about Ethereum's future and price? I got done saying it. I think Ethereum is fine for now. They definitely are the leaders of the network protocol space, but they can't sit on their hands too long. They have to get sharding, and they do have to get their whole chain merged together because Polkadot and Cardano are not too far behind. Things could change really, really quick in crypto world, right? So Vitalik and team better, quickly finish up what they need to. But right now, Ethereum is fine. They have a huge development base. They have a huge support. Grayscale Investments still has a ton of Ethereum, so that's not going to change anytime soon. Yeah, by the way, I do have a lot of scam comments like you guys probably have seen, and I do my best to try to remove them all the time, right? But you'll never see in the comments where I respond and say, call this number or telegram me. I'll never say that. So just in case some of you guys are confused, right? If you actually see those cases, report them. But I do try to remove them as much as I can. And by the way, I want to say something. I want to announce something, and hopefully this doesn't turn out bad. But I am looking for an intern for CryptosRUs. So it's a paying internship, but it's low paying. Don't expect too much. But if you want to get involved with crypto, you want to help me with some of the stuff that I don't really have time for, so reach out to me, George@CryptosRUs.com. Right? Email me. I can show you the details. But I am looking for someone, an intern that can help me do some of the grunt work that I don't have time for. So in case any of you guys are interested. Professor Plunge, man, you missed out. It's Bitcoin for corporations. I think this is going to be massive. For those of you guys that missed it, you got to rewind to the beginning. But I think this is going to be absolutely massive for Bitcoin. I think it's going to introduce Bitcoin to a whole lot of companies that has been sitting on the sidelines that really don't know what they should do, and they're going to get an entire playbook from Michael Saylor, and I think we're going to see a ton of corporations afterwards announce that they're following the same footsteps. They're going to put a lot of their reserve currency into Bitcoin. So I think this is absolutely huge. I think people are underestimating the impact this will have. This could be the biggest event for Bitcoin. Honestly, it could be the biggest event for Bitcoin ever going forward. It doesn't matter what comes afterwards, but this could be the turning point, the turning stone for all corporations to really utilize Bitcoin as a reserve currency, or as a store of value, I should say. So this could be absolutely massive. So I do think a Bitcoin pump could be coming, the one for the ages after this event. And this is coming in just like 2 weeks. So it's not very far off. Imported Belgian beer. Sounds interesting. Is Tron finished? I don't know. You tell me. I have heard zero development efforts or zero updates on Tron in terms of any of their products. Now, granted, I haven't been looking, but I just don't hear anyone talking about Tron now. So I don't know what the hell is going on with Tron. Istoshi Oliver, thank you for that super chat. Can you check out Keeper DAO? Rook is trying to reduce Ether fees. Well, that would be a good thing. I have heard someone else talk about it. So it's 15 million market cap, very, very, very low. They are on Uniswap, pretty much, and the 1-inch exchange. I'm just trying to think. That'd be a horrible pickup line to say join me at the 1 inch exchange. All right. So is there like an explainer page or no? So how does this reduce ETH fees? This seems like it's just like a staking platform. All right, let's go to the regular one. Let's see if there's regular. Okay, here we go. So that makes more sense. On-chain liquidity underwriter for DeFi. Liquidity backstop. Scales DeFi by acting as a proxy volatility fund, providing backstop liquidity for on-chain lending and synthetic asset protocols. Harvest excess returns by capturing arbitrage opportunities. Yeah, okay. That doesn't reduce ETH fees. It seems like it's yield farming. It's yield farming with some kind of other fund they use as a proxy. Yeah, I don't think this is a good project at all. I would not be interested in it. I mean, this looks exactly like staking and yield farming, basically. So the purpose is not to reduce ETH fees. No, not for me. Oh, wow. BTC just got a big pump. You know, I guess that's the George effect. You know, whenever I stream, that's what you get. So 33.2, not too bad. But like I said, you know, what I like to see is Bitcoin break above to 34.5, right? Break above, hold above, then I'll feel a lot better. And I want to see Bitcoin, you know, just hover between here, right? 40 and 35. I think that would do a lot. That would do a lot for Bitcoin. I think holding down here causes too many people to have doubts, because what the whales did here actually caused a lot of FUD and caused a lot of doubt, and people are wondering, well, Bitcoin will ever recover again, right? So I want to see Bitcoin above here. Yeah, who knows? Who knows? That may be coming by tomorrow. I don't like synthetic at all. I hate the concept of synthetic. And the only reason why it got pumped up is because of Palm Beach effect. Palm Beach and whoever the guy that runs Palm Beach said synthetic is the coin of the year. But it actually it's just tokenizing all these things that doesn't need to be tokenized. And you could tokenize other crypto too, which is even more idiotic. Like you could tokenize VeChain and buy a synthetic version of VeChain. Like, why would you want to do that? Then you don't get any voting rights or anything. Like you just buy like a fake version of, say, VeChain that has nothing to do with anything. I think the whole concept is, I just don't like it at all. I don't. What do you say? Oki Finish says, what do you think it's smart to sell BTC after a massive spike, since it's most likely to drop right after? No. No. Right now, like for me, I'm just trying to accumulate as much Bitcoin as I can. All right. I'm trying to ignore all this volatility and stuff like that. So for me, I'm dabbing a little bit into like trading and so forth, but majority of what I have is just there set. I'll dollar cost average when I can. I have a very small pot where maybe I try to time some top and bottoms, but in a lot of cases I'm wrong. It's like 50-50. You really can't time it, right? Sometimes you try to time top or time bottom, you just go lose out. So if you're going to try to trade, I would suggest that you do it with a very little amount of your entire portfolio. That way, if you're wrong, it's not going to affect everything, right? There's been many times where people try to time top. They're like, I'm going to sell after a certain amount, right? And then it keeps going up and up and up and up. I had to call him out, but I'll just bring up my brother-in-law. He's one of those guys that refused to believe that Bitcoin could go above $20,000. So when Bitcoin was, coming up, I was telling him about, hey, Bitcoin is coming up. It's looking good. He's like, you know what? I don't believe it. you know, I've been waiting for so long. So at $20, I'm going to sell it all. I'm going to sell it all, right? I'm like, I don't think you should do that. But, you know, I didn't try very hard because there's some people that you just can't convince, right? So guess what? You know, 19.5, 20 came, right? He sold it all. He sold it all. And guess what? He had to buy back at, he told me this recently. He bought back at 39,000. So when it crashed to 28,000, guess what he did? He panic sold because he thought it was going to go down to 20,000. So not only did he lose out on all this and he rebought back at 39,000, he panic sold at 29,000. So guess what? He's going to have to try to buy back in now, right? If Bitcoin continues to go up. So that's why, right? So if you see Bitcoin go up in a big way, you know, let's just say up to 20,000 and you sold, you know, we're never going to see 20,000 again, right? So even with this, you're losing out on all these Bitcoins, right? So you can never really time top or bottom. So if you're going to try to trade, you know, do a very small amount of your portfolio, right? So do it that way. Otherwise, you may just kick yourself forever. So, yeah. And I'm not trying to say it to make fun of him or anything, but like, you know what? It's like he had to learn his own lessons, right? I told him that 20,000 and beyond, you know, who knows? It could move very fast. It could go down, but still, just hold it. Just hold it for long term. But he got weak hands, right? He FOMO'd in at 39. He's like, it's going to go much higher. It's going to go to 50, right? And then, you know, after this, he got scared out. So, you know, that's why I said, you know, this point right here where the whales caused Bitcoin to flash drop to about 28,000, that had an effect. That really scared a lot of people. And I'll be the first to admit, it scared me too. I'm like, man, that's a big drop, right? Out of the blue. And I'm like, is this going to continue? We could go down 24,000, but it didn't scare me enough to say, oh, I'm going to liquidate. But it had me questioning too, right? So the whales, they do a good job. And right now, Bitcoin being under 35,000, it has a lot of people questioning about Bitcoin, right? Like, can it come back up? Is this the end? You know, so the whales, they're good at what they do. They're really good at what they do. Doesn't matter how seasoned you are. They're really good at just having, you know, planting a seed of doubt in your mind. And even though you don't want to believe it, it might just sit in the back of your mind and it might be lingering there, right? So, but hopefully the stream, you know, what I do help you guys realize that, you know what, Bitcoin is here to stay. Pay attention to what's going on around the world, what's going on behind the scenes. And if you truly believe in it, then you know that there's nothing to fear. Doubt will be there, fine. But you know what? You'll move past it. So that is it. I'm going to let you guys go. Getting a little buzz from my beer. So I'll let you guys go. Bitcoin is pumping up a little bit. That's nice. I like to see it above 34.5 tomorrow. So another 1,000 points from here. It could definitely happen, right? We'll see what tomorrow brings, what this week brings. But overall, you know what? This big event, you know, Bitcoin for corporations, I think this will be absolutely huge. Absolutely huge for the entire community, for Bitcoin, for crypto. And it'll be huge for corporations too. They're going to realize Bitcoin is the one. Is the one to buy. It's not gold. And it's funny too. You never hear about businesses buying gold, right? Like that just doesn't happen. I don't know why that is, but they just don't buy gold. But they will be buying Bitcoin, a boatload of them in the future. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. As always, smash up the like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of my future streams. I will have one tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, and that's it. Make sure you check out my Patreon page, and if you want a crash course on Bitcoin, then check out my Teachable page. All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Take care. Until tomorrow. Bye-bye. Oh, no, I forgot. I do have an important message from CERN Labs. So they have an important message for you guys to take a listen to. So let me play it, and then have a good night.
What do you think about Ripple?
Well, I mean, I think it's too centralized, but I definitely want to meet Chris Larson.